Hi guys, my name is Roman and I'm working as a partner development manager for the Google Play team. I'm taking care of partners that are based in Central Europe and Russia, and I'm based in Moscow. Today I will be talking about the importance of live operations in the life cycle of a mobile product. Also later on, I will be joined by Stefan, who will be talking about one of the examples that were kindly shared with us by his company. So let's start. First of all, quick round about what today's last presentation is going to be about. Well, first of all, I'll try to define live operations and explain why they're important. Then I will go through 4 examples that were kindly shared with us by our partners. There are some people present in the room. Thank you very much, guys. And I will wrap up by giving some recommendations and best practices. Actually, live operations is a pretty large field of operations. And it's like marketing. It touches to a lot of domains inside of the video game publishing. And there were a lot of cool examples and best practices that were already shared before. So I hope that you will enjoy the middle part of the presentation that actually brings more examples and data to illustrate what we are saying, right? So this is, sorry, skip the menu part. Now, what are liveops? Probably many of you have heard this definition already, right? In video gaming, especially nowadays, we're talking about running a game as a service. We are not at the point where we were developing a product and then launching it on the market and leaving it sitting there. Now, most of the most successful products that are available in the mobile sphere or other video gaming platforms are being operated by companies, right? So in this very context, I'm going to talk about strategic distribution or interactions that you might have with the players that are aimed to increase their engagement. In some cases, monetization. Overall, it's to bring more fun. Sometimes they will help you to reduce your churn because engaged players are staying longer, obviously, or even bring some of them back, right? So what are the main components of live operations? When we're talking live operations, we're talking about customer relations. Customer relations includes news posting, interaction on forums, interaction on social networks. Previously, we had some great examples. It also includes sales and promotions, bundles, rare items, activation or distribution, contests and tournaments, business intelligence. Business intelligence in terms of live operation is a very important factor. When talking about mobile gaming publishing, we all know this, glamour KPIs like monthly, daily active users, retention, conversion to players. But business intelligence when it comes to live operations is your capacity of measuring the impact of the actions that you are creating, these operations that you are creating for your player base. And here actually you have to be always in front of the curve. If your product is growing, you need to be proactive and create activities that will actually even increase this trend. If you think that your, obviously, curve in revenue or daily active users is going down, here again, you actually have to be twice more proactive in terms of creating different activities. Types of live ops. So there are live ops that can be bound to the coded updates, generally called patches in the industry, and they come to hype the importance of the new modes or story that you introduce to the game. They can also emphasize the importance of new characters, story or skills, or new game mechanics that you add. Targeted, they are more bound to player groups, right? They depend on seasons, on regions. They also depend on the progress sometimes that players have made in the game. We actually had a very good example half an hour ago. Or to the moments when you think that the players will churn. This is just a small reminder. When you are tailoring your live operations for local markets, you need to make sure that you think globally. Because even the most famous events that we're all used to celebrate might occur in different times of the year in different countries. If we take the example of Easter, or like when the Christmas is celebrated in Russia, you know. And they might not be celebrated in the same way. So here you have to be quite smart and again, think globally. This chart is actually pretty famous, especially for those that are doing game development. You know that you have to tailor your live operations depending on players' objectives. We all know that competition between players is one of the strongest drivers when it comes to increase players' engagement, revenue, because it's competition, right? But not everyone likes direct confrontation. Some people like playing a product, but discovering it under a different way. Some people, as we know, are achievers. Some people get there just for the social component because they want to stay connected with other users. Some people like stories and they're exploring content. So when creating a new opportunity, you have to think about these types of players. As mentioned several times today, we are also here, it's all about business, right? So when you are creating live operations, you also have to take your own goals into consideration, right? Here again, we're talking retention and engagement. You need to make sure that the events that you create, they do not burn, for instance, your players base because you are, for instance, delivering too much content at the same time. That you monetize your players properly. Later on, we'll actually have a really cool example of such a case. That you drive your players through content properly because technically and normally, when your product is being released, you are the ones who know your product in the best way. So you teach people, you educate them on how to go through it properly. And marketing. Marketing here is obviously when you are collecting or gathering resources inside your company to raise a hype around an event that is happening in your product. It's also a good opportunity to acquire new users. So this very occasion should be used. It's also a nice moment to cross-promote your product. Obviously, if you have more than one in your portfolio. And the final step, when tailoring your live operations, you have to tailor them for the entire base of your players. And by entire, we mean the players that are still to join your project, those that left, and different players that are at a different level of the progress of your game. Obviously, you have not to forget about the core players because those are usually the ones that influence the community in the best way and promote your product often. So why it is important to run live operations nowadays? Because the content is king, and we know that players are consuming it at a different level. So you need to make sure that through your interactions or the game mechanics, you are present for the players whenever they want to interact with your product. It's very important, and it's one of the best ways to keep them engaged. Because time is money, we all know that, right? And sometimes when your development team and artists are working on creating new code and new patch, you can come up with an event that will have the same impact, or it's sometimes even better, to keep your users engaged, to show them the best out of the game. One example might be like going through levels of your game or creating different tournaments based on achievements or photo sharing contests. Those are pretty, let's say, cheap and efficient solutions to bring something additional new about your game. Again, because the engagement is essential, here featuring war robots, and people get used talking to you. And the more efficient you are, the more likely you are to reach your users when you try to share some important information about the upcoming event and the upcoming patch. People will just stay engaged longer. Because we all know that the acquisition costs are high, and the products that are currently on the market, the top grossing ones, are mature. So it's one of the best ways to optimize your lifetime value. It makes you obviously your traffic acquisition more efficient. Players stay longer, probably paying more, so it's helping you to save some money. And because we all do products for people, we're creating apps And even if you are interfacing with a game through a device, you still like feeling a human presence behind. This is why actually liveops are very important. In fact, it's not about short-term spikes in revenue or daily active users. It's really about building long-term lifetime relations and value with your players. So now I will be going through some examples that were shared with us by our partners. Here we're featuring Wargaming, studio from Belarus, Zeptelab, UK, Madfinger Games from Czech Republic, and Creative Mobile. So Stefan Ruhle from Creative Mobile will be talking about the initiative on his own. So first example, Wargaming. Pretty interesting case. It was a live operation that was created for the entire players base without creating any code. So what the guys did is that they used a web-based website to pull the statistical data from the servers and organize a competition among all players where every region was represented by different characters. So here you can see a cowboy representing the North America and a Russian knight with a Russian tank. And players were obviously fighting for different objectives. The news about this contest were just pushed through Wargaming normal networks. And actually what happened is that just once the news were released, the number of daily active users has instantly increased by 4%. This is without actually any additional user acquisition, which was actually quite a smart move. But besides that, by introducing some smart goals for the community, what Wargaming managed to reach is to increase its battle intensity by 22%, to increase its in-game purchases by almost twice, and to increase their hard currency, which is gold in this game, by 170%. And this is just by creating an event and advertising it through the web page and their community. There is another thing that pops up to the game and is quite interesting for analysis. It's a tank. As I was saying, at the beginning, if you remember, I mentioned rare items activation. So this tank was initially coded and added to the game, but pops up only on rare occasions. Once through a quest, people can get it for free, or just before Christmas in December, it appears in a special bundle. So whenever this tank appears, it just does massive results in terms of sales, because people know how this tank is legendary, and sometimes they're actually waiting for it purposely. So as you can see here, the number of tanks that are sold within the first 3 days is increasing by 40%. It's the best-selling tank of all times. It drives 30% of revenue for a month, and it creates actually a lot of new paying users. 5.7% of people who bought the bundle with this tank paid within the ecosystem for the first time. So it's quite a smart move. This is actually a chart showing the number of sales of this legendary tank Type 59 comparing to other tanks, and the E25 is one of the most popular and available in the game the whole time. So this is actually quite cool. So next example is from Zeptelab. Thank you, Lena, for giving us the info. Those cases are actually pretty interesting because not only they show the results of some actions that were performed by the partner, but they were actually done in the context of A/B testing. So now you will be seeing on how different changes of variables bring different results. So this case is when additional content was added to premium chests. Group A is the control group, so the content that was usually available in the game. Then you have groups B, C, and D. And actually, what you can see is that it's not the group that received the most of the premium content that added the most value to the player's lifetime. So this is actually one of the cases where you have to balance the content that you deliver properly. Another example is personalized offers. Before, the studio had an offer that was universal for all players. But then they decided to include the content based on the progress that the players have already made to the game. And here again, we can see that the MAU, the ARP MAU, has increased by 45%. Another example, this is the cross-promotional factor which I mentioned. This is the installs that are being driven by Cut the Rope. We all probably know this game, to King of Thieves. So here again, amazing results were reached in terms of conversion to installs. And on the right part, well actually it's still the right part for you, you can see the different examples of icons that were used for reaching those objectives and the impact it has. The very last one, which I personally like, so if you can see, it actually features a special Android skin that was actually added to the game and featured on the store through a banner. So here again, a good moment, good initiative, and good idea. The costume has become four times more popular than other costumes in the game. 31% of players who bought it use it at least once, and 10% of players are wearing it on a daily basis. Pretty cool, right? Last example on my side before Stefan comes to the stage. Matt Finger, thank you for providing the example, guys. Mark, don't see you, but thank you. Ah, yeah. On the left part of the site, it's not a live operation, but as I managed a very cool example on how the introduction of a PvP mode changes game's KPIs. So the game was released 1 year ago. It has already 15 million of installs worldwide. But when these guys introduced the PvP mode back in May, it actually increased the number of players that converted to the mode by 100%, and their ARPU also went up. And then we came up with the team with a first purchase offer that was adding additional content to the players who were playing PvP. And here, as you can see, actually the results were also amazing in terms of conversion to paying users and the increase of ARPU. And the project is actually doing very well, and it's a very cool game. So now it's Stefan's turn to talk about the initiative. Please welcome Stefan.
Hello, you hear me? Okay. Yeah, thank you, Roman, and thank you, Google, for actually hosting a very, very pleasant event. I actually had the opportunity to visit the Playtime event in Berlin, but I must say London is like 4 times bigger here, definitely. Yeah, it is even an honor to be mentioned among all these great, great developers. I love King of Thieves. I even have that on my phone. So if you're looking for a good game, for lots of fun, definitely download that. Let's start with a question. Who knows Fatty Web? Yeah, that's like 2. That's actually usually the answer I get in Europe. Well, let's quickly look. Who is Fatty Web? Fatty Web is an American hip-hop artist who rose to actually lots of publicity in 2015. He has 1 billion YouTube channel with like 1 billion views. He has like songs like Trap Queen, 679. He works with David Guetta, with Sia, with Drake, so definitely lots of big guys. And he's among the top 10 most listened artists on Pandora, Spotify, and Apple Music. He's even nominated many times for 2 Grammy nominations already, multiple VMA and Billboard Awards. And what actually rose some interest for us, he shares a big passion for cars, ATVs, and motorcycles, actually anything what has wheels. And so he got in touch with us, with his management, and we started talking about actually doing something together based on one of our games. And we quickly realized that he's actually interested in doing more than just being the icon of the game, actually doing more and providing lots of support. And that actually resulted in one very nice game trailer, which I wanted to show now. Okay, that worked. Yeah, that was Nitro Nation Stories. So it's like the sister game of Nitro Nation, a heavily story-driven racing game. And we worked with the concept of real rewards there. So we rewritten the storyline to focus on Fediweb and his crew. That's Monty and lots of other people. We added new soundtracks. There's music added to the game, which will be first released to the game and then later to his audience, actually. We have lots of merchandise from him, from T-shirts to caps to hoodies to later even a meet and greet, which will be result in a tournament. And that actually resulted in very, very impressive numbers. We had a launch event in New York together with Fediweb and lots of his influencers, lots of his friends. That actually resulted that we were among top 2 searched game, actually trending searches for the Fediweb game. Our retention went high. We got 50% retention in the first month. Skyrocketed with the rating on Google Play as well for the review score. And we doubled our revenue. So that's definitely, I would say, a live op which worked out for us. And here's just a little bit to see the update before Fediweb and after Fediweb. But now many of you will agree that the pool of celebrities is limited. And you don't want to use, I don't know, George Clooney for the next, I don't know, skydiving app or something like this. So it needs to stay authentic. And there's another way of working, not with celebrities, but working with brands, what we did. And that is with our, that's why I said sister game. That's like the flagship title, Nitro Nation. That's like one big family. And there we started to introduce more and more brands for live operations. And we started to work with Tech Speed Wheels. That's a German rim manufacturer, BBS, Borbet. Many, we reached actually out, and these rim manufacturers, they actually do tournaments which are already written in the game, but on quarterly results, we can actually draw out a set of real rims. So if anyone is actually in need of real rims for his car, definitely play a little bit of Nitro Nation. Something else what we did there, what I'm really, really proud about, is we won Hankook. I don't know who knows Hankook, but it's a tire sponsor. Not tire sponsor, it's a tire manufacturer, but we won them as an official tire sponsor for Nitro Nation. And they're something, I think they're currently number 7 or number 6 in the world, just quickly behind guys like Continental, Dunlop, Michelin, so definitely big names. And what we did with them is event collaboration. So these guys are regularly going to car exhibitions. And quickly before we go into that, I think most of the mobile game developers can agree with me that exhibitions for mobile game developers, for example, the Gamescom, to be present in the entertainment area is not really the best deal because you need to compete with Battlefield 1, Watch Dogs 2. That's, like people running into the halls to see that, not to see the next mobile game. And that's why we realized it's actually a good time to do live ops together with big brands on car exhibitions. So we went to the SM Motor Show last year, together with Hankook, and these are the typical South Korean Hankook girls, which they're always using. And so we worked together with them. We invited some YouTubers. We had a big show there. We were part of their booth, and we actually created video content on YouTube with the YouTubers and Hankook together, which reached over 1 million views in a couple days. So many views that actually the SM Motor Show contacted us afterwards and told, next time you come, you please tell us. So that definitely worked out. And yeah, I actually needed to rush through because Roman wanted to go next.
Thank you, Stefan.
No problem.
So the day was quite long. I'm not going to reiterate everything again. It's just a small stress on the fact that Google is actually amazing at offering different services. And a lot of good stuff was mentioned today. Just a reminder, when we were talking about getting additional events into your game, you know that you can create them through our services, right? And we have really strong analytics tools that are included in the Google Play Developers Console. And as mentioned earlier, it's actually in the very heart of Firebase. So we just hope that those tools will help you guys developing better products, understanding your audience better, and using them actually for free. It's a nice solution. Then the points that you have to consider is, again, just a kind of wrap up. What is important when it comes to live ops is obviously knowing what kind of tools that you have to running live ops inside your game. If you are in the process of developing a new product, you should certainly make sure that you have one, that you have the possibility to create events based on different players' needs, on different seasons, on different regions. That you have the possibility to grant or activate items inside your product without patching it. That you can know what offers are relevant to different regions, and you know what are the best price points for the people who are likely to buy something in your game. And that you have also team members that understand the product and can work with the community. So if there are like forgot about one slide. This is actually how to increase your chances. You know that from time to time we are contacting you about some initiatives that we are launching, like Game Fest or summer deals. It's actually one of the best ways also to get into it because we actually check if you guys can adjust your prices accordingly, or according to the theme of the deal, for instance, or if the content that is in your game is relevant to the kind of fest that we're creating. So it's just another idea on how to promote your product better. And yeah, as I said, if there are like 4 points that are very important for this presentation, is that please invest into liveops, backend tools and team. And it also applies to the player stats API. Invest in talented people who do really care and know how to work and promote your project. Invest into business analytics. This is not a luxury solution. This is very helpful. And through the examples you've just seen, we know that it works. And actually, in your daily work, you also know that it works. And 2 important factors, as I said, it's also about human interactions. Show to your players that they're important to you. And don't forget about those that haven't joined the project or those who left. There might be people, as shown with other examples, that might come back.